Hello, hello, my certified goblins, because that's exactly what you are if you somehow randomly came across this channel. As the inaugural video, I figure we can watch this idiot somehow telling himself after stealing his money.
This scammer allegedly stole $19 million in crypto from regular people and then hopped on a Discord call to brag about it to other scammers, trying to, I guess, prove that he had more money than them. I mean, come on. How are you going to snitch on yourself like that? Imagine being so insecure of yourself that you need to tell others that you stole $19 million to seem cool. Talk about throwing away your life to act cool. How are you?
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose of police work, especially since you're giving them all the evidence. Like, what's the point? Just do the crime, immediately go to the cops, turn yourself in, and you might honestly, depend on where you live, get a better sentencing too.
Going to do something to get thrown in jail and then brag about it openly? Like, come on. This is honestly the final boss of skill issue. So regardless, it's safe to say he couldn't have made things easier for the investigator who caught him. So meet Drayton Capolani Jr., an 18-year-old living in the United States, originally from New York, but more recently, he's been spending a lot more time in Miami, and allegedly he's been very busy stealing people.
Always in Miami. If you're going to do your shenanigans, go to Miami. Perfect place to flaunt it, perfect place to get caught. Just look at Jack Doherty. Come on, man.
People's money between all the private jet trips and nightclub appearances in Miami. But before Zach XBT, the guy who actually uncovered all of this, put his name out there on May 12, 2026, Drayton was basically anonymous outside of very specific underground areas. We're talking about closed Discord servers, private Telegram groups, and a community that's loosely referred to as the COM, a network of young threat actors whose bread and butter is essentially, among other practices, social engineering, which is, I guess, tricking and convincing people to give access to their crypto wallets rather than doing any like computer wizardry. What is ironic about his name, Drayton, it sounds a lot like Dritten in Norwegian. Dritten in Norwegian would be like the kid. It's not spelled correctly, but it's definitely fitting. So
wow, it's like life set him up to fail.
Within those circles, Drayton apparently had a bit of a reputation because while basically everyone around him kept, I guess, getting picked off one by investigators, he kept walking away clean. And the reason, I guess, was pretty straightforward. Drayton was a minor, and law enforcement tends to do slow walking cases involving juveniles. So while the people around him were facing federal complaints, Drayton was essentially operating with a little bit of a plot armor this whole time. But unfortunately for him, that whole plot armor came with an expiration date as he turned 18. So on April 23rd, 2026, Drayton joined a Discord voice call. And I guess this is like the kind of calls where a bunch of scammers go band for band. Essentially, it's just kind of like a bragging competition where threat actors get on call and try to outflex each other by showing off how much money they're sitting on. Like, come on, guys, this is like the perfect scenario for any investigator. Like, how stupid are we, guys? This is literally like robbing a bank, then showing up to a local bar and going, look at all this cash I got from the bank branch down the road.
It's worse. It is overall worse than doing that. Because if you go to the bar and do it, you know, there are no cameras and everybody's in there drunk. You can't, as far as court goes, they're not reliable witnesses. They were all smashed and toasted. Like, if all they knew, you held up a bag of paper, which technically, yes, that is what money is, but that ain't the point. You did this online and recorded it and saved it. Like, there's no arguing that. Like, you showed everything in Discord. I would much rather with this bar because at least you can get away with that.
But I guess during this particular call, Drayton decided to screen share his Exodus wallet, and the balance on the screen was something around $3.68 million. And he was showing off this wallet to prove he had more than the other guys in the call.
Yeah, bro.
That is
Bro, look at my screen share, bro. Yeah, bro.
Is he showing money? Hold up.
Someone's down there playing Fortnite.
Yeah, bro. Yo, Justin Sim. Yo, Justin Sim and AJ. Yo, Justin Sim and AJ. Look at my screen shares. It's love to talk about me. Look at my screen share. Look at my screen share, bro. Broadcast. Broadcast.
Now, Exodus is a crypto wallet app, and it also allows you to record your portfolio age, meaning it shows how long the wallet has existed. So when Zach XBT later got a hold of the wallet details, something jumped out immediately. The portfolio age at the time of the call was just 1 month and 8 days. But not only that, the wallet had also been created right around the same time of a massive theft that Zach had already been tracking. And I guess
so you made a new wallet and then immediately stole something from it, something, and put it in there immediately. I mean, this just as an FYI, if you work at McDonald's and you start making big purchases, like I'm talking like $100,000 purchases, cars, houses, they're going to investigate you. Your name is on all that stuff. They're going to know where you work. Like IRS, FBI, everybody who's tracking your purchases and see that you work at McDonald's are going to know something's up. How is he getting this money? Did someone die and leave him this money? Is someone else buying this? This is why they go after drug dealers' families, because they tend to take care of their families, because they know that these people can't afford this stuff based on where they work, based on their income that they're reporting on a yearly basis. You know, it makes no sense. So, of course, think first. Think.
The highest balance ever recorded on that wallet was $5.3 million. And that was apparently logged on March 15, 2026, the day after the theft took place. So one could say that's a little bit of a coincidence. So here's what Zach traced back. So on March 14, 2026, someone lost 185 Bitcoin through a social engineering attack. At the time, those 185 Bitcoin were worth roughly $13 million. Social engineering, for people who are unfamiliar with it, it's not really hacking. It's essentially tricking people to give up access to either their computer or their hardware wallets. This could be like fake customer support messages, impersonation of hardware companies like Trezor or Ledger, phishing.
It's essentially the Microsoft rep calling you saying that you have a virus and then giving them access to your computer, where they then lock it until you pay X amount of money. Same concept, just Bitcoin and other wallets.
Websites, or I guess SIM swap attacks. For the most part, it's low tech, at least from a code sense, but it relies a lot on social manipulation and coordination. And the day after the theft, on March 15th, roughly $5.3 million from that stolen Bitcoin found its way to this Exodus wallet that Dritten, I guess, was flexing on this Discord. And by the time April 23rd rolled around and he was doing his B2B flex, about $1.6 million had already been spent, or I guess laundered. Regardless, it's a little bit tricky to read, but what matters is the timestamps match, the laundering services matches, and the portfolio age also matches. So the whole thing lines up. But real quick, I thought I'd talk about something that nobody really thinks about until it's too late, because just in the last few weeks, we've had a massive New York City healthcare system leak, which affected 1.8 million patients. Then on top of that, you also had the Canvas data breach, which reportedly affected 275 million people. Because here, the hacking group, Shiny Hunters, claimed they'd stolen 3.65 terabytes of data from approximately 275 million users, including private messages exchanged between students and teachers. And pretty much every single time, it's the same story. Millions of people's information just gets dumped online like it's nothing. Names, addresses, phone numbers, all just floating around there for scammers and hackers to have a field day with. And once that stuff is out there, you really don't have too much of a say anymore. And that's unfortunately how people end up with fake accounts open in their name, insanely convincing phishing emails, or someone trying to straight up steal their identity. Which is why I've been using today's sponsor, Incogni, because Incogni goes after data brokers, the companies whose entire business is essentially scraping and selling your personal information, and forces them to delete it. And this isn't a one and done thing either. No, they keep monitoring over time so your information doesn't quietly end up back on the market. And I've been using Incogni for a little bit over a year and a half now, and you can see the progress on the dashboard. Over 1,000 successful removals, which so far realistically would have taken me hundreds of hours to deal with on my own. And honestly, the biggest benefit of all this is just the peace of mind. And they've also added this feature called custom removals. So if you find your home address or any other sensitive information sitting on one of those sketchy people searching websites, you can flag it directly in the dashboard and the Incogni team will actually take care of it for you. And that alone could definitely help prevent stalking, fraud, or worse before it even starts. So if you want to get protected this year, you can go to incogni.com/Atozy and use code Atozy for an exclusive 60% off. And that link is right down in the top of the description down below. And I mean, with data leaks becoming basically a monthly event at this point, I'm genuinely glad there are services like this that do exist. So again, if you're interested, you can go to incogni.com/Atozy and use code Atozy for 60% off. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. Now, on May 11th, 2026, the day before Zach went public with all this, federal prosecutors unsealed a criminal complaint against a man named Trenton Johnson in connection with that same 185 Bitcoin theft. And now, Johnson is facing up to 40 years in prison. But inside that
What is 185 Bitcoin worth right now? Hang on, let me check that. $13,487,517.28. That is the worth of 185 Bitcoin as of right now. I would be pissed. I would get the goblin horde to find this guy, find him, and we drag him back to the goblin hole and do unspeakable horrors to him. 13.4 million. God, dog. 13.5 million. Man.
Complaint, however, there is a co-conspirator referenced throughout. He's listed as co-conspirator 1, or CC1, and Zach identified CC1 as none other than the guy named Drayton. And I guess the messages included in the court documents are, to put very gently, not great for whoever CC1 turns out to be, because it's just safe to say I don't think a jury is going to be looking at that in a good way. So on the day of the theft itself, Johnson messaged CC1 saying he'd just been able to do something that others haven't been able to pull off, referencing Trezor here, which points to that hardware wallet impersonation scheme. Then CC1 responded with excitement, confirmed the 155 Bitcoin figure, and almost immediately started pushing to hit another target. And a couple days later, CC1 was already laying out the laundering plan, stating an intent to convert the stolen funds into Monero, a privacy-focused cryptocurrency that's significantly harder to trace than Bitcoin or Ethereum. And by March 16th, Johnson was already planning the next round of attacks. And Drayton, or CC1, has not been formally charged at the time of this video, but he is named as CC1 in a federal complaint. And Zach published the full thread identifying him the day after those charges against Johnson became public. But here's the thing. The March 2026 theft wasn't even the beginning of the story, because Zach had already traced a second older wallet linked to at least $5.85 million stolen across 5 separate social engineering incidents throughout August, September, and October of 2025. And these are different victims, different dates, but the funds kept flowing into the same laundering infrastructure. And the pattern was consistent enough that Zach classified all 5 as high confidence connections. And interesting though, the reason Zach even had that older wallet address in the first place traces back to a little bit of drama within these circles, because back in January of 2026, a threat actor known as Lick, whose real name is apparently John Dagita, he was exposed for allegedly stealing $46 million from wallets linked to the US government. I mean,
how? How? I don't know really much of anything as far as like Bitcoin, these wallets. I really don't. Like, I've never really gotten into that, not that deep into it, you know, but linked to the government. How? How in the world did you fall for this? And I get we're all human, you know, just you make mistakes as far as being the victim on this side. But come on, man. How did this get taken and they not immediately get fried? It makes no sense.
The amount of money these guys are stealing is just absolutely insane. I mean, these young kids are essentially putting bank robbers to shame with these heists. But still, they're somehow dumb enough to go onto these Discord servers and flex on each other and start beef with these other thieves who clearly are not going to keep all these chats anonymous. Regardless, though, that investigation led to Daghita's arrest. But before,
I mean, because technically speaking, in that they're bragging to each other, they're going there bragging to each other, but isn't that a competition too? So like you have incentive to record that and tell on each other. I mean, because you can just say, like, you know what, I didn't do it, but they did, or anonymously drop this information to them, because obviously they seem to be pretty good at covering the tracks. So you can anonymously take this information over to someone else and get rid of them. So there's less competition. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying hypothetically, you think that'd be a good enough reason. But given these kids, brain not fully developed, making dumb decisions, wanting to brag, and now here we are.
Before all that happened, Daghita and Drayton, they'd also been known for doing the whole band for band Discord calls against each other. And I guess after a fallout from Zach's investigation into Daghita began, he apparently posted one of Drayton's older wallet addresses in a Telegram message. And that message has since been deleted, but unfortunately that was enough and screenshots were made. So Zach pulled the address and verified it matched the same laundering patterns, and that opened up a whole new trail to those 5 additional 2025 thefts. So combined with the whole 185 Bitcoin theft, the total amount that's tied to Drayton lands at about $19 million. And the federal complaint also brought in another name, a meme coin figure known on social media as Yellow Tree, whose real name appears to be in the court documents as Brandon Michael Tardabone. And Yellow Tree has been fairly active in crypto circles, and he is what people call a KOL, which is a key opinion leader. I kind of call these people maximum extractors, because all they, for the most part, do is extract money from the people who follow them and give it to the hands of a few. Essentially, these guys are kind of like an opposite Robin Hood. They take money from the common man and give it to a few rich friends. But according to the charges, he allegedly helped launder stolen funds through a rental car business that he operated in Miami. And he's now currently facing 30 years in prison on money laundering charges. So that's not a good look whatsoever. But obviously, disclaimer here, everything that we're saying is alleged because they're still facing these charges and they haven't been convicted in a court of law yet. But what?
I mean, all in all, yes, correct. It is all alleged. You can't say they actually did anything. Even though they filmed it and have all the digital footprints, until it's proved in court of law, it is still alleged. You have to remember that it's all allegedly.
The things that made Zach's job so much easier here, and it really does seem to be a recurring theme here on this channel, is these dudes just snitched on themselves over and over again. There was nothing subtle about them. They stole all this money and they wanted to flex and tell the world that they stole all this money. How is it possible to be this stupid? This is just such a massive skill issue. Like, come on. Allegedly, if you stole $19 million, would you be flexing on Instagram?
Absolutely not. I would cease to exist for a while. No one would be able to find me. No, matter of fact, no, I'm not even going to do that. You know what's the easy thing to do? Continue living your life as you were. If I won the lottery, nobody would know because I would continue to work my regular job, continue to drive my old car, probably get it fixed at least, but, you know, small things. And I will continue living like that until I have everything lined up like I want. And once it's lined up, then I go and do whatever I want to do. In the case of stealing this, you lay low as long as possible. That's why all these old bank robbery movies and all these old experienced bank robbers, when they go back and they tell their story, they talk about how they take the money, they go bury it somewhere and leave it there for like years before they touch it. This is exactly why. You wait for the statute of limitations to run out. Again, this is not advice. Please don't do this and listen to it as advice. I'm just kind of rambling. But that's why they will take this, they're going to bury it somewhere and wait for X amount of time, wait for the heat to die down. You know, the bank goes and gets the insurance to go and pay for it because it's all insured. And then they're going to take the money and they're going to do what they're going to do with it. But they did it smartly. These guys, because they're kids, because that's what they are. They're kids. One just turned 18. He has to brag about it. Social media has ruined people to the point where you have to go in and flex online for absolutely no reason. All you had to literally do was shut up. And you don't have wherewithal to do that. Like, come on, man.
Because this dude, he was recording himself on private jets, wearing luxury watches, driving supercars, appearing at nightclubs, and often holding stacks of cash. Like, imagine going to federal prison because you couldn't help yourself but filming yourself stand in a corner inside of 11. Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you already lived your life like that was already your Instagram, it blends in perfectly. It blends in perfectly because you were already living that way. But if you were not living that way, if you did not come up in money, don't flash that. That's literally all you have to do. You don't have to go buy them watches. You don't have to do all that, but you have to brag because social media got in your head that you have to brag. You have to show how you're living. No, you don't. You don't. All you have to do is just stay quiet. You stay quiet. You shut up. You're showing evidence that you stole it. Like, besides the fact of the recording, let's scratch the recording. Let's scratch all that. Because now the question comes that any regular person would ask, how did you afford that? Given my job I work now, my 9 to 5, if I showed up with a $100,000, Hennessy Raptor, people gonna ask, how did you get that? Where you get the money to get that? Because it don't line up. It don't make sense. It does not make sense. And again, now if I say I won the lotto. Now the next question is why are you still working that job? Or why did you go and do this? Or can I hold something? People start asking questions, and then word gets out, and now everybody knows what you're doing. All you gotta do is shut up. That's it. Just shut up. Don't talk. See, like, watch this. That's all you gotta do. Just that. Nothing.
Bro, flexing was totally worth decades in prison. I mean, it's not the flexing that got him there. It's the fact that he actually did this to begin with. But also, it would be a whole lot harder to catch these guys if they weren't so brazen about it. And again, they're doing all this in crypto. So I guess these morons just forget that moving stolen funds around doesn't erase them from the record at all. That record's there forever. As of right now, Drayton has not made any public statement responding to these allegations, and no formal arrest has actually been made yet. The CC1 designation in the Johnson complaint puts him in a federal case narrative, but him actually being charged has not happened yet, or at least not publicly. But his name and wallet addresses are now sitting in the public records, so that's not a good look for the guy, alongside of, you know, the federal court documents. And unfortunately for him, he's now 18. And I feel like it's also worth noting that around the same time all this came out, DOJ and the FBI ran a much larger crackdown on crypto scam networks. So here you had 276 arrests, 9 scam centers were then shut down with coordination involved from the Dubai police, Thai authorities, and assistance from Meta, which reportedly removed over 159 million scam ads throughout 2025 alone. So it seems like the whole Drayton situation is one piece of a significantly larger enforcement push. But now, for someone who spent the better part of 2 years allegedly moving millions of dollars in stolen funds while everyone around him got arrested, it seems like his time is kind of running out. And whether the former charges will follow or not, the anonymity is definitely gone. But other than that, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed it.
He took the words right out of my mouth. Save here. You know, go ahead and subscribe. Plan on doing more reactions and more content and see how this is going to play out. So if you are a certified gobbler, which I believe you are, because if you made it to this point in the video, you obviously seem to like something. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like it, and do me the favor of growing the goblin horde, because we will be mighty and we will be many. Otherwise, catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out.